You're watching Forsaken Joe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the story. Let's begin. She left her fork in the sink with a single noodle still curled around the edge. It's weird what your brain clings to when your heart starts falling apart. I stood there staring at that one strand of spaghetti like it had something to confess. It was 7:14 p.m., Thursday. She'd left the apartment in a rush 3 hours earlier, claiming her boss was calling an emergency team meeting. I offered to drive her. She said no, grabbed her tote, and kissed the air near my cheek. Not on it, near it. And that fork, man. She'd taken exactly 4 bites of the pasta I made, said it was delicious, but she had no appetite. I didn't believe her, but I smiled like an idiot anyway and told her, "Don't stress, kill it at the meeting." She left. I rinsed the dishes. I sat in silence. At 8:22, I called her. No answer. 8:47, I texted, "Still at the office?" Nothing. At 9:10, I saw her tagged in a story. It was the sound that hit me first. Some obnoxious remix of a pop song, bass-heavy, clubby. Definitely not a corporate meeting vibe. Then the visuals loaded. A booth, dark lighting, 3 people. One of them was her, my wife, laughing, hair down, a wine glass in her hand. And she wasn't just laughing, she was glowing. The kind of glow I hadn't seen since we got back from our honeymoon. The kind you don't fake under cheap bar lights. Then a hand, his hand, slid behind her back. Not casual, not coworker-like. It was the kind of touch that says, "This is mine now." She didn't flinch. She didn't pull away. She leaned in. My chest went hollow. I tapped back to the story thumbnail. Watched it again. Slower this time. Noticed the details. His watch. Her nails, freshly painted. Not the chipped lilac ones she'd had this morning. A different jacket. She changed before meeting him. She dressed up for him. The 4th time I watched it, I noticed her phone. On the table, face down. So, yeah. That's why she didn't answer my calls. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan, the same 4 blades spinning in the same tired circle, just like my thoughts. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that moment. Her face lit by someone else's laughter, her hand brushing against his thigh like it belonged there. That weird little side smile she does when she's caught flirting. I used to think it was cute. Now it looked like a weapon turned backward, carving something out of me from the inside. When she came home at 11:42 p.m., she moved like nothing was wrong. Keys jingling, heels off at the door, jacket slung over the chair. She didn't notice me sitting in the corner of the living room, lights off, phone still in my hand. She smelled like gin and eucalyptus, not her perfume. His cologne, maybe? "Hey, babe," she said like nothing happened, not even glancing at me as she walked toward the kitchen. That meeting was a nightmare. Can you believe? "You were at Simon's Lounge," I said, cutting her off. My voice sounded calmer than it should have. I wasn't calm. I was floating just above the floor, numb, but aware of every sound in the room. The hum of the fridge, the soft click of her phone screen as she set it down on the counter. She froze for half a second. Just a half second. Then she turned and furrowed her brows like I was the crazy one. "What are you talking about?" she asked. "I was with Julie and I saw the story." She paused again. A longer pause this time. Her lips parted slightly. Then she did something that still messes with my head to this day. She smiled. A twitch of the lips. Small, hollow, like she'd been rehearsing it in the mirror for moments like this. "Whose story?" "Advisor will it rain. You're tagged in it. You and some guy. Flannel shirt, black watch. Your phone's right there on the table. You saw it." She sighed, walked to the sink, and turned on the faucet. Just stood there, staring at the stream of water like it would rinse the conversation away. "That was after the meeting. A few of us went out for drinks. He's new, just a guy from the Denver office." "You touched his leg." Silence, just the water running. "I saw it, Darcy. You looked happy. Like you forgot you had a home to come back to." The water finally stopped. She grabbed a glass, filled it, and took a long sip before turning around. "You're reading way too much into it," she said quietly. "It was nothing." Nothing. That word, it echoed. Nothing. Like everything I'd built with her was weightless, like trust, time, all those late-night talks and weekend trips were just air. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I just stood up, walked past her, and opened the drawer in the hallway where we kept all the dumb little forgotten things: spare keys, expired coupons, random mail. The guitar pick was still there, where I'd left it earlier that week. I held it up. "Is this also nothing?" And for the first time that night, she didn't have an answer. She didn't answer me right away. She just stared at that guitar pick in my hand, like it was some foreign object that had materialized out of thin air. Like she'd never seen it before in her life, or like she had, but knew it shouldn't be in my hand. Finally, she said, "Where did you get that?" I didn't say a word. I just kept holding it up, letting the silence do the talking, letting it stretch and breathe and settle in the space between us like a thick fog. She shifted uncomfortably, glanced at the counter, then at the door, and I swear to God, for a split second, I saw her calculate. Like she was measuring how quickly she could grab her phone and disappear again. Her voice dropped. "That's probably Caleb's. From work. He plays. I think he left it when he gave me a ride home last week. You told me you took an Uber that night." A beat, a blink, another smile, brittle and badly glued together. "Right, yeah. I forgot." She forgot. Forgot who drove her home. Forgot a random man's guitar pick was under her seat. Forgot that I remember everything. Every story, every word, every little lie disguised as an offhand comment. I put the pick down on the kitchen table, slowly, like it might explode. Then I looked at her. Really looked. Her jaw was tight. Her arms were crossed, eyes darting slightly as if searching for the next best lie on the ceiling tiles. She always does that when she's cornered. Looks up, as if the truth might be written above her, just out of reach. "You want to tell me what's going on?" I asked, and she said the worst thing possible. "Nothing is going on, Glenn. You're being paranoid again." Paranoid. Like I was some unhinged conspiracy theorist instead of a husband with a handful of evidence and a gut full of dread. I felt the room get smaller, the air thinner. You know that feeling when someone tells you something so obviously false? It's not even the lie that hurts. It's the fact they think you're dumb enough to buy it. I walked into the hallway. The dust on the floor shimmered in the light, coming from the cracked bathroom door. I stared at the floorboards, at the familiar messiness of our life together. Shoes kicked off, a hoodie half hanging from the coat rack, the grocery list still taped to the mirror. And then something new. A black hair tie. Not hers. Darcy has fine, sandy blonde hair. She uses those clear elastic bands or those pastel scrunchies she hoards from Etsy shops. This one was thick, black, slightly frayed, with a single golden thread woven through the loop. It didn't belong here. I bent down and picked it up, holding it like evidence in a murder case. I didn't even turn around. Who was here? Behind me, her breath caught, just slightly. Almost silent apostasmer, but I heard it, felt it, like a tremor before an earthquake. "No one," she said. Liar. I turned to face her, holding the hair tie between two fingers. "Then why is this here?" She took a step forward, then paused. "That's probably mine." "It's not." "You're spiraling again." "No, Darcy," I said, my voice starting to break. "I'm waking up." For months, I'd been gaslit into thinking my instincts were delusions, that my questions were attacks, that I was suffocating her with suspicion. But in that moment, it all came into focus. The late nights, the turned-off location, the sudden makeup changes, the half-truths wrapped in sweet tones. I didn't need a confession. I didn't need more evidence. I needed one thing: distance. I left the hair tie on the hallway table and walked past her, grabbed my jacket, my keys, opened the door. She followed, barefoot on cold tile, whispering something I didn't catch. Maybe it was an apology, maybe another lie. I didn't turn around to find out. I walked out into the night, leaving behind a house full of unanswered questions and a woman who no longer looked like the one I married. And that was the last time we shared a roof without secrets between us. The cold didn't hit me right away. I walked for blocks, hands buried in my jacket, trying to keep my brain from spinning into places I wasn't ready to go. I wasn't crying, not exactly. But there was this heaviness pressing behind my eyes, like my body was preparing to mourn something it hadn't fully accepted was dead yet. I ended up at this gas station a few neighborhoods over, the kind that still has flickering neon and old vending machines that eat your dollar bills. I bought a coffee I didn't want and stood outside sipping it while the bitter taste crawled down my throat like punishment. I kept replaying it all: the story post, the hair tie, Her face when I confronted her, not fear, not guilt. It was strategy, like someone calculating whether to lie bigger or admit just enough to survive the night. I didn't go back home. I crashed on my friend Eli's couch, the same Eli who introduced us, ironically. He asked me what was wrong, and I told him I needed a few days to think. That was all. He didn't press, he never does. I think he knew without asking. The next morning, I went back to the house. I knew she'd be at work. She always left by 8:15, religiously. Same route, same Spotify playlist, same almond milk latte at the corner cafe. She was a creature of habit, except when it came to me. I let myself in with my key, half expecting the locks to be changed. But they weren't. Not yet. Everything looked exactly the same. Shoes in the hallway, mail on the table, the scent of her lotion still lingering in the bedroom. For a second, I almost convinced myself I had imagined it all. That maybe I was just broken and paranoid and clinging too hard to shadows. But then I noticed something. The basement window, the small one that sits behind the bushes under the side of the house. It was cracked open. Barely. Maybe half an inch. But we never opened that window. Not once in the 3 years we lived there. It was stiff, jammed, and always full of spider webs. I went downstairs. The basement was mostly storage. Old shelves, Christmas boxes, a treadmill we never used. But something was different. There were footprints in the dust. That's what got me. 2 sets clear as day. Hers, with the soft flat heel she always wears to work. And another. Larger, heavier. A man's, probably. And fresher than hers. I stood there in that cold, low-ceilinged space, staring at those prints like they were a map. My heart thudded against my ribs. Someone had been here. Someone else. Someone she didn't think I'd ever discover. I looked around for anything. A clue, a mistake, a carelessly left item. At first I saw nothing, just clutter and shadows. But then I noticed the folded blanket in the corner, half tucked behind an old cabinet. A pillow. A half-empty bottle of water. And then her handwriting. On a sticky note taped to the box. Don't forget the charger this time, and keep it quiet, okay? D. That was when something in me cracked. Not shattered, cracked. Like an old pipe under pressure. I didn't scream, I didn't smash anything. I just sat down on the bottom step and stared into that corner until the sunlight started shifting through the dirty basement window, casting long, quiet lines across the floor like prison bars. But the worst was still coming. Later that day, after she texted asking why my car was gone, pretending like she didn't know where I'd been, I decided to check something I'd never looked at before. I logged into our shared home Wi-Fi portal. I don't even know what made me think of it. Maybe desperation, maybe obsession. But I went into the device history, and there it was. A new device. Registered under the name Leo's Pixel, logged in 3 times over the last 2 weeks. Each time between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. Always on nights she said she had headaches or early meetings. Leo. The name alone made my hands go cold. That wasn't just some coworker. That was him. The one from the story video. The one with the flannel shirt. The one she leaned into like I'd never existed. He had been in my house. He had slept under my roof. He had walked across my basement floor and drank from our water bottles like this was his place now. And somehow, I wasn't even surprised. The thing about being betrayed is that it doesn't happen all at once. It's not some massive crash. Not usually. It's more like a series of cuts. Shallow at first, annoying, then deeper still, until one day you realize you're bleeding out and didn't even notice it starting. That was me, sitting in my car across the street from my own house, watching the front door like a stranger casing a place he used to live. Darcy had no idea I was there. She was inside, moving through the house in comfortable silence, sipping coffee and scrolling through her phone like everything was fine. Like I wasn't unspooling piece by piece in the front seat of my aging Honda Civic. I don't know what I was waiting for. Maybe I thought I'd catch him leaving. Or maybe I wanted her to come out and see me, to make eye contact, to see me in my wreckage. But the front door never opened. The curtains never shifted. And after 2 hours of freezing in place and questioning my sanity, I finally started the car and drove away. I ended up at the public library. Yeah, weird choice, right? But it's quiet, and I needed somewhere that didn't smell like her shampoo or sound like her voice echoing in my skull. I sat in one of those cubicles in the corner with an old desktop and the fan buzzing behind me, and I just stared at the login screen. I don't even remember typing the password to my Gmail. Muscle memory took over. That's when I found it. Not in the inbox, not even in the trash. It was in the drafts. 27 unsent emails, all to the same address. Leo Parker 1986, at each one just a few sentences. Some long, some barely a line. I can't keep doing this. He's starting to suspect. You said we'd be out by July. It's October. Please don't come tonight. He's home. I hate lying to him, but I hate living in this silence more. He still thinks we're fixable. I don't know how to kill that hope. I read every single one. My stomach turned. My fingers were shaking, hovering above the mousepad like they didn't want to be a part of this anymore. And for the first time since this all began, I felt small. Not angry, not betrayed, just reduced. Like I was some faded figure in the background of someone else's story. But it didn't stop there. One of the drafts, dated just a few nights ago, had something attached, an audio clip. Just a few seconds long. I stared at it for a full minute before I clicked play. And there it was, his voice. Low, confident, too familiar. You're gonna have to tell him eventually, Darce. He's not an idiot. He knows something's up. Then her voice soft and tired. I know. I want to wait until after the holidays. I don't want to ruin his family trip. Ruin my family trip. The one I had been planning for months. The one I saved up for so we could finally visit my parents. Show her the cabin I grew up in. Let her see where I carved my initials into the old pine behind the lake. The one thing I was actually looking forward to. She was planning to leave me after that, like I was some last item on a checklist before she closed the door on our life for good. I closed the email tab. Just sat there, staring into the buzzing monitor glow, feeling like I'd walked into the middle of a movie I didn't know I was starring in. Every memory suddenly felt staged, every kiss rehearsed, every apology hollow. But here's the part I haven't told you yet. I wasn't alone in the library. There was a guy 2 cubicles over, working on something, typing fast, headphones in, hoodie pulled up. And for whatever reason, as I stood up to leave, I glanced over at his screen. It was Google Maps, zoomed in on my street. At first, I thought I was seeing things. I even rubbed my eyes, convinced it was a coincidence. But he scrolled, hovered, then clicked on my exact house number. I froze. What the hell were the odds? I stepped back, tried to casually get a better look without being obvious. But he must have sensed me because he closed the tab immediately. Then he stood, pulled his hood lower, and walked out, fast. I waited a beat, then followed. He turned the corner out of the library's glass doors and vanished into a side alley before I could catch up. I didn't know what was going on anymore. Was he connected? Was this some sick coincidence? Or was I starting to unravel so badly that I was seeing ghosts where there were none? I walked back to my car, one hand clenched around my keys, the other still holding my phone. And that's when the text came in, from an unknown number, just 5 words. You're getting too close, Glenn. I sat in my car for almost 30 minutes staring at that text. You're getting too close, Glenn. 5 words, no name, no context, no punctuation, just a silent bullet dropped into my life at the exact moment everything was already bleeding. At first, I thought maybe it was a prank, someone messing with me, a number spoofed off some spam list. But my gut said different. My gut said, watch your back. And here's the part that really messed me up. I hadn't told anyone what I'd found in the drafts, not Eli, not a soul. That message, it meant someone was watching me, or worse, inside my accounts. So I did what you're not supposed to do when you're spiraling. I went back home. I don't even remember the drive. I just remember the sense of dread growing tighter and tighter around my chest, like a seatbelt locked in a crash. I pulled up to the house, parked a block down, walked slow, careful, scanning every window. And then I noticed it. The front lock, the deadbolt. It was new. Darcy and I had had the same scuffed bronze lock since we moved in. You had to jiggle it twice to get it to click, but this one was sleek. Chrome, digital keypad. A full replacement? I pulled out my key anyway, tried it, just to confirm. Didn't even fit. She had changed the locks, without telling me. That wasn't just a signal, That was a message, clear as daylight. You're not welcome here anymore. I stood on the porch, fingers trembling against the cold, trying to make sense of how quickly everything had shifted. Not just behind my back, but under my feet. How had I gone from husband to intruder in the span of a week? And that's when I saw it. Across the street, behind the tinted windows of a parked white SUV, someone was watching me. I couldn't see his face clearly, but he wasn't hiding. He was in the driver's seat, one hand on the wheel, the other holding a phone up like he was texting. But he didn't move, didn't glance away, just sat there, observing. I walked toward him, not fast, slow enough to see if he'd react. But before I reached the curb, he pulled off. No tire screech, no panic, just a slow, smooth exit down the block and out of sight. I caught the first few digits of the plate. Colorado. Darcy's company had an office in Denver. So did Leo, apparently. I was starting to connect dots I didn't even know were part of the same picture. And that's when the final straw snapped. Later that evening, I went to Eli's apartment to grab my laptop. I'd left it there the night before. He wasn't home, so I let myself in with the code he gave me ages ago. No big deal. We've known each other since college. I've slept on that couch more times than I can count. But his place felt different this time. Office. The curtains were shut even though it was still daylight. A strange citrusy candle was burning, not Eli's style, and on the table, by the TV, was a glass of wine, still half full. That's not weird, you're thinking. Maybe he had company, maybe he's seeing someone, but Eli doesn't drink wine. He's allergic to sulfites. One glass gives him migraines for days. We used to joke about it. So, who was drinking wine in Eli's apartment? I picked up my laptop, ready to get out of there before my own thoughts turned against me, when I noticed the photo frame beside the couch, an old picture of me, Eli, and Darcy at a cabin 3 winters ago. But someone had moved it. Not just moved, it's wiped it. The dust around the edges was untouched, but the center was clean, like it had been handled recently, like someone had been looking at it, holding it, staring at us. I left without locking the door. Back in the car, I opened my laptop and logged into my Google account. I had set up 2-step verification the night before, after that creepy text. But the login history showed something terrifying. Someone had accessed my account from a new device just 3 hours ago. Location, unknown, IP, masked, operating system, Linux. I don't own any Linux devices. This wasn't about Darcy anymore. This was about control. Someone, maybe Leo, maybe someone else entirely, was playing a much bigger game than infidelity. There were layers here, patterns, hidden hands pulling strings I didn't even know were attached to me. And the worst part? I wasn't sure if Darcy was a player or just another pawn. That night, I barely slept. I lay on the mattress at Eli's place, the one that sinks in the middle like it's tired of supporting anyone, staring at the ceiling as the traffic outside whispered its secrets into the dark. My brain wasn't spinning anymore. It had passed that stage. Now, it just ticked. Methodically. Like something was being assembled without my permission. In the morning, I drove to the house. Not to go inside, I couldn't. The lock was still changed, but I sat across the street watching. A part of me was hoping I'd see her again. That maybe she'd step outside, coffee in hand, hair still damp from the shower, looking ordinary, human, reachable. But she didn't come out. Instead, at 9:12 a.m., a man did, not Leo. This guy was older, late 40s maybe, with dark sunglasses and a scarf wrapped too tightly around his neck, like he was trying to disguise his profile. He locked the front door behind him, like he lived there, walked calmly down the front steps, got into a black sedan with rental tags, and drove away. I waited another 15 minutes. Then I walked up the steps and checked the door again. Still locked. I walked around the back. Same result. But something about that man, the timing, the quiet, the way he didn't look at the street, told me there was something else going on inside that house. Something bigger than I could see. So, I called a locksmith. Told him I was locked out of my own place. Told him my wife had changed the lock while I was away for work. Half-truths. The kind that make things move quicker. He was there within the hour. 20 minutes later, I was back inside my house. And it didn't feel like mine anymore. I moved through the rooms slowly, like I was walking through someone else's life. The air smelled wrong, too clean, chemically. The couch had been vacuumed in patterns we never used. There were new hand towels in the bathroom, Everything was off just enough to be terrifying. I went upstairs, her laptop was gone, so was her jewelry box, the small one she never used but always kept for sentimental reasons. The closet had gaps, spaces where bags and coats used to be. She hadn't just packed for a few days, she'd evacuated. But here's where things spiraled. I don't know what made me peel back the wallpaper in the hallway. Maybe it was the way the corner had started to curl slightly, or maybe I was just looking for something, anything, she hadn't scrubbed clean. But when I lifted the flap, I saw black ink underneath, writing, a sequence of numbers, 4 rows, 12 digits each, all perfectly spaced. It looked like a code, or coordinates, or a combination of both. My first instinct was to Google them, and what I found chilled me. The numbers matched an encrypted file structure used by a secure drive hosting service based in Iceland. One of those underground platforms used for whistleblowers, cybercrime, and people trying to hide their tracks. Darcy had left something behind. Not accidentally, deliberately. A puzzle, a message, or a trap. My hands were shaking as I wrote the sequence down, every nerve in my body screaming that I shouldn't open whatever this was. But I was too deep, too gone. Back at Eli's, I logged onto a Tor browser, navigated to the service, and entered the string. A single folder popped up. One item inside, a JPEG image time-stamped 2 weeks ago. I downloaded it, opened it, and I stopped breathing. It was a photo of me, sitting at the cafe down the street, wearing my gray hoodie, sipping coffee, reading a newspaper. Candidate, natural, unaware. Only one problem. I never took that photo. I'd never seen it before. Someone else had. Someone had been watching me, tracking me, logging my movements and storing them behind encrypted layers like I was a subject, not a person. But that wasn't even the worst part. In the reflection of the cafe window, just behind me, you could see the outline of a man, holding a phone, wearing a scarf around his neck. The same man who walked out of my house that morning. I zoomed in, trying to see more, and that's when the screen glitched. For a second, just a fraction of a second, the image distorted, then reshaped itself. Another image tried to load behind it, a flash of documents, names, lines of communication, and one line of text before it vanished completely. Asset 0314, active monitoring engaged, subject unaware. I slammed the laptop shut. My wife wasn't just cheating on me, she was hiding me. I didn't open the laptop for 3 days after that. I left it on Eli's kitchen counter, face down, like a weapon I didn't trust myself to hold. Every time I walked past it, I felt it there, humming with unanswered questions, names I didn't recognize, files I wasn't supposed to find. I told myself I was done digging, that maybe some stories aren't meant to be understood, just endured. And then, on the 4th morning, something changed. I got a letter in the mail, handwritten, no return address. Just my name, scrawled in the looping, careful script I knew by heart. Darcy's. Inside was one thing. A folded sheet of notebook paper and a single photograph. The paper was a letter. If you're reading this, I'm already gone. And no, I don't mean that in some dramatic vanishing act kind of way. I'm not on the run. I'm not with Leo. I'm not part of some conspiracy. I'm just done hiding who I really am, and done hiding from what I did to you. You weren't crazy, not once. You were the one thing in my life I didn't have to fake. And maybe that's why I ran from you first, because being real terrified me more than any secret ever could. Leo wasn't what you think. He wasn't a lover. He was protection. Not from you. From someone else. Someone I never let you meet. Someone who won't ever touch me again, now that I've finally told the truth. You were the safest thing I've ever known, Glenn. And I destroyed that. Not because I didn't love you, but because I didn't love me. And you can't give someone a home when you're constantly breaking into your own. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want you to stop looking for reasons you weren't enough. You were more than enough. You were the reason I didn't disappear sooner. The photo? It was of me again. But this time, not candid, not spied on. It was from the cabin, 3 years ago. I was sitting by the lake, skipping stones, laughing at something Eli had said. Sunlight bouncing off the water, pure, real. And on the back, she'd written in tiny letters, "That version of you is still in there. Don't let me be the one who buried him." I don't remember crying, but I remember what it felt like afterward. Like I'd shed something heavier than tears, a life. a version of myself that had clung too long to something that was already gone. And from there, things didn't collapse. They rebuilt. I stayed at Eli's for another week, got my own place after that. Nothing fancy, just a little studio on the edge of town with a second-hand couch and a leaky faucet I learned to fix. I started journaling again, found a therapist who didn't flinch when I told him everything, and slowly, the buzzing in my head began to fade. One morning, I drove upstate, to the same lake from the photo, sat on the same rock, skipped a few stones of my own, and I found it, that version of me she talked about. He was quieter now, older, but stronger, wiser, still bruised, sure, but no longer bleeding. I don't know where Darcy is now. I don't think I need to. I don't look for her name in inboxes or story tags anymore. I don't check draft folders or log in logs. I let that story end, because I've started writing a new one, and this time, I'm the main character again.